Hi everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at slope-intercept form. So your goal after watching the video today will be able to put an equation into slope-intercept form and also to solve for any of the pieces that are within slope-intercept form. So the first thing that we're going to talk about in slope-intercept form is the intercept. So a y-intercept. So this is the point where the graph intersects the y-axis. So if we are taking a look at a coordinate plane and we have a line, well, first thing, our x-axis is here, our y-axis is here. So where the line crosses the y-axis, that point right there, that is our y-intercept. So in an ordered pair, a y-intercept is always 0, comma, and then whatever that value is. So the first term, the x term in a y-intercept is always 0 because it's on the y-axis. We don't move left or right at all. We just move up or down. The second thing that we're going to take a look at today is slope-intercept form. So this is the equation of a line using m as slope and b as the y-intercept. So we always write it as y equals mx plus b. M is always slope. B is always the intercept. And we leave y and x alone. So we leave slope-intercept form with y and x inside. And just like that, so we don't have to touch them. So for example, an equation in slope-intercept form is something like y equals 2x plus 7. We have a slope of 2, a y-intercept of 7, and we just leave x and y alone. They're just there holding in place. So what we're going to take a look at today is writing some equations based off of things that we're given, pieces that we have, pieces that we don't have. So write an equation in slope-intercept form of a line with a slope of 4, so m equals -4, and a y-intercept of 1, so that would be a b value of 1. Because remember, m is slope and b is y-intercept. So in our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, we can plug in for m, and we can plug in for b. So our m is -4, and our b is 1. So our final answer for slope-intercept form is y equals -4x plus 1. And that's what we got. So second, we're going to take a look here at writing an equation in slope-intercept form of the line with a slope of 5 and a point at 0, -8. So first, let's identify m, and I'll have you do that now. So m is slope. They tell us that slope is 5. Next, I'm going to have you identify b. So in this case, b is a little bit tricky, but if we remember back to our y-intercept example here, our y-intercept comes where x is 0 and whatever the value for y is. So here, x is 0, and our value for y is -8. So writing this equation out, y equals mx plus b, our m value is 5, and our b value is, we'll put it in parentheses here, -8. So you can write it this way, or you can also write it as 5x minus 8. Plus -8 and -8 are the same thing. You'll get full credit either way. So moving on to the back, a couple of things that we're going to take a look at here are getting it into slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. That means the y has to be by itself, x has to come first, and any numbers have to come third. So if it's not in that order, we have to rearrange it so that it is. And we'll do that using some properties from algebra. So the way that we move something from one side of the equation to the other is by doing the opposite of what is there. So if we have positive 5x, the opposite of that is minus 5x. We do that on both sides. So don't forget that negative is attached to the y. So negative y equals -5x, and then we have positive 12. And the last piece here is in slope-intercept form, we need just y by itself, so we have to get from negative 1y to just y. And if there's never a number there, you can just put a 1 in its place. So divide this side by negative 1, and divide this side by negative 1 as well. So negative 5 divided by negative 1 is just positive 5, and positive 12 divided by negative 1 is just negative 12. If you're not sure about either of those, just check them in your calculator, and it will be able to get you those values. So for our next one here, we need to have y by itself. So the next question is, how do we move negative 8x to the other side? Well, the opposite of minus 8x is just plus 8x. So we can do plus 8x on both sides. So we'll end up with 8x and 16. And there we go. So that is solving for slope-intercept form. Again, get your y term alone, get your x term first, and get your constant term last. The final pieces of equations that we're going to do here are looking at slope-intercept form for some equations that give us a little bit more to solve. So write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line containing these 2 points. Well, we can solve for slope, and we can do that by using our slope equation. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We'll end up with negative 9 over negative 6, which gets us an m value of, we can do positive 9 over 6 or positive 1.5. Either of those work. So the challenge here is solving for b. So let's just take what we have so far. So we have y equals mx plus b. We've just solved for m, so we can go ahead and plug m in. But we don't have b yet. So the only thing that we can do now is to use something that we're already given. So we are actually given 2 xy pairs. So we can choose either the first pair or the second pair to plug in. So let's say we choose the first pair. In the first pair, x is 4 and y is 9. So we are actually allowed to plug in for x and for y. And what that's going to allow us to do is actually solve for b. So 1.5 times 4 gets us 6 plus b equals 9. Subtract 6 from both sides, and we'll get b equals 9 minus 6, which is just 3. So here, we've identified m, we've identified b, so y equals 1.5x plus 3. And that way of solving is going to be very common for what we're working on here in terms of identifying pieces of y equals mx plus b that we have, and then trying to plug in the pieces that we're missing. So the remaining questions are very similar to that. The big idea here is identify m, identify b. If either of those pieces are missing, what we do is we go back to y equals mx plus b, and then we select an ordered pair. So in this case, for the second equation here, x and y, we would want to plug in for x and plug in for y. So I'm going to ask you actually to solve question number 6 now. So write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line containing 1, 7 that is perpendicular to the line y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1. So go ahead and solve this one, and we'll come back in a moment. All right, so step 1 for our m value. Here, they give us an m value of negative 1/2, and they tell us we need a perpendicular slope. So if you remember from yesterday's lesson, perpendicular means change the sign and flip the number. So our m value here is positive 2. Again, change the sign and flip the number. So now we can go into our equation here, y equals mx plus b, and plug in for m. And we don't know b, so what we're going to do is we're going to take x and we're going to take y. So 7 equals 2 plus b, subtract 2 from both sides, and we'll get b equals 5. So b is 5, m is 2, so y equals 2x plus 5. All right, so that is slope-intercept form for today. Hopefully our video here helped you out. You are ready for the questions. I'll see you in a moment.